Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It is time for another true crime video yet again, and today we will be talking about Emma Walker, the girl who got murdered by her stalker ex-boyfriend. Emma Jane Walker was born on March 20th, year 2000 in Knoxville, Tennessee. She was the daughter of Mark and Jill Walker and had a brother named Evan. Growing up, Emma was a very optimistic kid. She was happy, friendly, and very outgoing. People around her had nothing bad to say about her and described her as the nicest person you'll ever meet. In 2014, she auditioned and got accepted into her school's cheerleading squad, and she was, in fact, the only freshman who got in. Emma was very passionate about cheerleading and competitive dance, but her real dream in life was to become a neonatal nurse. During her free time, Emma did a lot of volunteer work, most of it spent volunteering at an animal shelter. And this really paints a picture of what type of person Emma was. She was extremely kind and beyond caring. She attended Central High School, where, as I have mentioned, she was a cheerleader. But aside from this, Emma did really well academically too. She was an honor student and was friends with almost everyone. This is also where she met a guy named Riley Gohl. Riley was a popular guy at school. He was on the football team and Emma had the biggest crush on him. However, when they first met, Riley was actually in a relationship with a different girl. But when he found out that Emma was interested in him, he broke things off with his girlfriend and then started dating Emma. Now, they were the classic power couple at school. She was in the cheerleading squad while he was on the football team. However, not everyone saw them as that. Emma's friends and family began to notice how she was starting to become too guarded around other people. She did not open up as much and would often keep to herself. Riley ended up being controlling and very possessive. He would tell Emma what to wear and who to hang out with. And whenever Emma was out with her friends, Riley would make sure that her attention was still on him. And he would bombard her with calls and texts, almost implying that she was not allowed to have fun without him. And at first, Emma thought that maybe Riley just didn't like her friends. This would make total sense if Riley had tried introducing her to other people, but he didn't. He never made an effort to include Emma in his group activities. It was as if he didn't want her hanging out with her friends, but he did not want her around his friends either. It seemed like he wanted Emma's world to revolve around him and him alone. Now, the two had an off again and on again relationship wherein they would fight, break up, and then make up and get back together. This was their dynamic, and at most times, Riley would threaten to take his own life if Emma didn't take him back. The people in Emma's life didn't only notice this, but also made a number of attempts to try and stop the relationship. Her friends would express their worries, telling her that this was very unhealthy. Her parents also tried to encourage her to end things with Riley permanently. However, Emma did not listen. At some point, Riley's messages to Emma became way too aggressive, and her worried parents decided to ban Riley from their home. They also told Emma that she was not allowed to leave their house unless it was for school, work, or cheer practice. They also confiscated her cell phone to make sure that she had no communication with Riley. However, they found ways. Her parents were not aware that she could actually use her iPod to communicate with him. And although Emma seemed to be aware of how toxic their relationship was, It seemed that she just couldn't get over Riley and kept on giving him chances. And when Riley went off to college, they continued the relationship. However, this wouldn't last very long. Right before Thanksgiving break in 2016, Emma saw Snapchats of Riley with other girls in campus, and this really upset her, causing her to finally break things off with Riley for the last and final time. And Riley did not take this well. He attempted to take his own life by drinking a shit ton of alcohol and taking Vicodin pills along with it. However, this attempt wouldn't be successful. In a matter of a few weeks, Riley was back on his feet. On November 18th, 2016, Central High School won a big football game. And to celebrate, one of the kids threw a house party, and Emma was having fun with her friends until she started receiving weird texts at around 11:30 p.m. She received eerie messages telling her to go out and finally having enough of what she thought was a prank. Emma and a friend went outside to check, and there, she saw a man laying face down on the pavement at the end of this house's driveway. This man turned out to be, of course, Riley, who seemed to have been dumped there. He was in a daze, clutching his head, making it seem like he had been beaten up. He was confused, saying that someone took him, stuffed him in a van, threatened him, and hit him on the head before dropping him off on the side of the road. But of course, no one believed his story, not even the friend that he called to pick him up. This was Riley, and everyone knew of his crazy antics, especially when it came to Emma. The following day, November 19th, Emma was home alone and was supposed to meet her mother out for lunch when she heard banging on their front door. Scared, she texted Riley telling him that she hated him but needed him right now. Riley then drove to Emma's house right away but didn't see anyone suspicious near the area. They then ended up just talking on her driveway. And when Emma did not show up for lunch, her mother got worried and decided to check on her, and when Jill saw that Riley was there, she told him to leave. The next day, November 20th, Emma was still feeling quite agitated due to the events that transpired during the weekend. She was understandably freaked out, but started to calm down when she and her dad Mark went out to get some ice cream. Once they got home, Emma got ready for bed and said goodnight to her parents. But in the middle of the night, Mark woke up to two loud bangs. And knowing that there was someone banging on their door like a maniac just the day prior, he got up to check on his children, Emma and Evan. Still both in bed, Mark went back to his room without question. The following morning, November 21st, 2016, before Mark and Jill left for work, Jill decided to go into Emma's room to wake her up. Now, Emma was usually a light sleeper, but somehow, even after nudging her leg, Jill couldn't wake her up. Jill then took a closer look at her daughter, and this is when she realized that something was completely off. Emma's lips had already turned blue, and upon checking, she had no pulse. Jill then made a frantic phone call to 911, but once paramedics arrived, Emma was declared dead on the scene. She was only 16 years old and was initially believed to have committed suicide or suffered an accidental overdose. Now, news about this spread like crazy. By the end of the day, everyone in school already knew about it. And even though at first this was ruled as a suicide or accidental death, the authorities were informed that this was a homicide and that Emma had actually been shot on the head twice. Upon investigation and a search of the Walker home, authorities discovered a hole on the corner of Emma's room where her bed was, and that these were the bullet holes. This indicated that whoever had done this knew exactly where Emma's bed was. The police, of course, talked to Emma's friends and family, and throughout the series of interviews, one name kept on popping up: Riley's. Riley was then taken in for questioning, and initially he was not treated as a suspect as the police did not see him as a threat. However, one of his closest friends came forward saying that after the kidnapping that happened the Saturday before Emma's murder, Riley told him that he borrowed a gun from his grandparents for protection. He was brought in for another interrogation, and this time he had an alibi. He told the police officers that he was at his friend Noah's house. And when asked if he stayed the night there, Riley said, "Pretty sure I did. Yes. Actually, I'm positive about it." Now, his response alerted the investigators. I mean, he wasn't sure at first, and it had only been a few days. So how could you not remember if you slept over at a friend's house? Another thing that made the authorities question him was that he never called Emma by her name during the whole interrogation, and instead kept on referring to her as the girl. And when asked which girl he was referring to, he simply said, "the one that passed away." Investigators also noticed how detached and emotionless he seemed. And to make things even worse for him, his alibi, Noah, told the authorities that Riley had asked him if he knew how to get fingerprints off of a gun because his roommate was asking. And of course, Noah said, "No, I don't know how to do that." And by this time, his own friends were sure that it was him who had done this to poor Emma. Initially, he told Alex that he had already returned the gun to his grandparents' house, but that too was a lie. He also asked his friends to stop talking to the police and take back their statements of him having a gun in his possession, asking them to tell the authorities that they were high when they got questioned. And thankfully, Alex and Noah did not listen to Riley. Instead, they decided to work with the police. They pretended to help Riley think of ways on how to dispose of the firearm, and he had no idea that his two best friends were actually wearing mics and were communicating with the police via a group chat the entire time. Riley was caught on camera and audio recordings saying that he wanted to discard the gun in Tennessee River, saying that there's no way they'll find it there. After getting dinner, Alex and Noah texted the police that now was a good time to catch Riley, and there in the parking lot, he was caught red-handed, holding the gun while wearing gloves. He was arrested and put into custody right away, and was facing first-degree murder charges, along with 6 other felonies. However, his defense team argued that this was instead a reckless homicide. They were admitting that it was Riley who fired those shots through the wall, but were trying to save his ass by saying that he only did so to spook Emma a little, like how he did during the weekend before when he faked his kidnapping and banged on her door. On May 2018, almost 2 years after Emma's murder, Riley Gall was found guilty and was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole in 50 years. And that's pretty much all the information that I have for you guys for today's video. This is a very, very sad case, and what a waste. Emma definitely had a bright future ahead of her, and Riley never gave her the chance to live a full life. He ruined things for her and her family. I honestly hope that he never gets to see the light of day, and I pray that he remains in prison for the rest of his life. As usual, I would love to hear your thoughts on this case. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you guys on my next video.